bracket.
Certainly, and of course we've got to conclude pools before we get into the championship bracket, which will be kicking off a little bit later today. And to do so, we need to find out what teams are going to go where in that bracket. So it's up to us to jump into some of these games that we've still got going on this morning, and we're going to watch LUMINON versus Complexity. And we're starting off with a little bit of Recharge King of the Hill here.
Yeah, just in the off chance that you are not up to speed on these rosters. As we get into the series, we'll kind of give you a little bit of an intro of what to expect here. Of course, the Alpha X LUMINON team, a lot of household names in Latin American Halo. Fantastic players who have been doing it not just in Halo Infinite, but also in H5 as well. Complexity, of course, coming in with some team changes of their own. They're looking to see what Cherished, Mental, RyaNoob, and KingNick can do. And as we've talked about, these guys know how to upset both pool play and a bracket. They can make things pretty dicey.
Certainly can indeed. His Complexity are out to a very, very strong start here, though. As you can see, almost capping this first hill uncontested. Finally, it will be LUMINON who do get their tippy toes dipped into the pool, so to speak, inside of that hill. And Leuor's going to have to hold off a push coming in from the turbine, potentially towards Pipe. Complexity looking like they're going to try and flood through these numbers, but you can see a couple of kills are going their way. As Leuor floods through, he will find one, but it's going to be 3 dead here for LUMINON, and Complexity look like they should be in a position to finish this hill.
Should also mention here, of course, Complexity 1-1 in pool, so important series for them, and never going to be an easy road when you talk about this level of Halo Infinite, when you talk about this stage, as that first hill will go. It takes a few extra seconds in the end, but it's calm and continuous control throughout that first hill really marked for Complexity.
Yeah, really well played there by KingNick as well. Just waited for the help to arrive, didn't over-challenge. Knew that the help would arrive, and now he's rewarded with not just 2 kills, but a couple of assists as well. That's 4 dead for LUMINON. KingNick, he's got himself a shock rifle, and he's got some hill time.
Going to comfortably hold. You could tell by the observer mode here, there's not really any pressure coming anytime soon. RyaNoob will eventually fall, but KingNick wisely makes the play. Over to Camo, gonna have to hit this drop, but I gotta tell you what, even with that many players alive, you thought he would have had a little bit more resistance on that entire play.
Yeah, you gotta give credit to the rest of his teammates for putting that pressure on those respawners, not letting LUMINON step out without taking damage, and with the Shroud screen in his back pocket, he's had to use that one, but now he's got a shock rifle and that camo in his hands, and Complexity controlling all of the goodies at the moment. It's been a really good start here from KingNick. Currently sat 6-1 in this game. Make that 7.
Wow, and to do so when 3 were dead on his team, it's a really big set of plays. Might even get another one here. Does it with 3 shots as well. I would say making it look easy, but to be honest, there was some effort required to hit all 3 of those. That brings him now to 8-1. What a start.
Really good positioning from him as well. Just making sure that between those shots with the shock rifle, using that pillar inside a tower, just to make sure that he was able to stay alive long enough to re-jig himself into a position to fire that shock and hit those shots. By doing so, he follows up with another kill like we just saw, and completes his full circle back inside of the hill, which is where he started this life.
Yeah, this is pretty wild to watch. As I said, you're just watching it happen right before your eyes. LUMINON not getting the angles that they need, and I would even be pretty harsh on their timing so far. Good shots in the end from Strikeyy. He just has to force the stacks, but the pressure unsurprisingly comes in right away. RyaNoob is your last player alive, however. We'll see what he can do in the back, and while that will be a good trade, they will need to push yet again for these final moments on the hill.
Yeah, it's a really good trade actually from RyaNoob. It just means that it's a 2v2, which means Complexity can get across the map and at least pressure this hill. You can see that Mental's already flooded through the front, and now Magico's going to have to flood in himself behind 2 players. That'll be 2 dead for Complexity, potentially 3 as he finds a nice double kill. Can he turn it into a triple? No,
4 dead.
But that will be 4 dead for Complexity, and LUMINON might be about to tie this game up.
Mental knows he has to go, but he gets tagged. He gets tagged. That's going to be the hill. What a stop from LUMINON. This pressure is not going to come in time, and they're still slaying, by the way. What an unbelievable stop on a hill that looked like it was guaranteed, and the most comfortable hold. And I'm happy to say they made me eat my words. I was critical of the timing. It looked like they did not have any pressure early on, but when they pushed, they made it count. And they get that second hill. We're tied 1-1.
Just looking at the rotate here. LUMINON did a good job of actually picking up 2 kills on that spawn of the elevator. The problem was every single player from Complexity spawned together in a squad spawn, and the numbers were just too much. So being able to survive and pick up those kills on Turbine on the LUMINON players means that they have continued to respawn here. Now they have control of the Turbine and the elevator closest to that hill, which means that they can be closest to be able to step into it. So good perimeter set up on the map at the moment for Complexity. LUMINON didn't really do too much wrong on that rotation, but it was the shots from Mental that really secured this spawn for them.
Really impressed by that. And let's not forget, Complexity went 1-2 in pools in Dallas, right? This is not unprecedented. They've had rough pool play results so far this season. Of course, bringing in a brand new roster, they're looking to turn that around. 2 dead for both sides, but I tell you what, Complexity may be a wake-up call for them on that second hill, because this should be a comfortable series for them if you look at kind of the history of the players on each side of the stage. But instead, Alpha LUMINON putting up a very good fight.
Yeah, you got to remember as well, all these teams that come through the open bracket have played a lot of Halo on the first day, so they're going to be warmed up. They're going to know exactly the areas in which they not just have been performing well, but have to improve. And I think a team like Complexity, you can't be cold on a morning like this against a team like Alpha LUMINON. We've seen them cause these upsets before, and with 3 dead, Complexity might be about to go 4 dead. 2 spawners arrive back on the map, but they're all trapped at the back of blue. And look at this progress, excuse me, on this Turbine Hill. It's looking like this could be 2-1 if this push from Complexity will fail.
And this has been uncontested. Look at the elevator flank. Should be able to get away with at least one. Strikeyy does, the pressure comes in, and all the while it doesn't even matter because all the timing he's using at bottom elevator, it's a beautiful pinch. They're gonna get the second hill. Complexity already led about 25% of the way to 0, and Alpha LUMINON comes back with a huge hold in Turbine to now lead 2-1, and all of a sudden this series is a lot more interesting than I think a few people might have expected.
Yeah, you can see the double up coming in from the gold push as well, taking down Mental. It seems like the teamwork is just starting to click a little bit here for Alpha LUMINON. When they've got those numbers on their side, they are making the most of them, and that was 3 dead momentarily for Complexity once again, and Rorzch has this shock rifle in his hands. 2 dead inside of the tower, excuse me, once again. That's going to be, like you say, 3 dead, and everybody trapped across map on the respawn once more, and knowing this shock is in play, they're going to have to double this cross.
Very impressed here by last time Halo. They lead on this hill yet again, and it feels like once they caught a bit of fire, nice movement here from Rorzch, as he said, once they caught a bit of fire, they have not looked back.
3 dead for Complexity once more. Those shots clean as you like. Mental last alive, going to try and challenge this hill player. Maybe look for an insta-sploit. Good positioning though from Magico. Will avoid that splash damage as the flood now comes in. Magico making it work so hard just to even access that hill.
Mental actually eats a team nade as well on the way in. I like that from Magico. They're going to finish here likely. Let's see on the 1v1. Yes, this should be the end of the hill in just a second. Cherished applying pressure though. And with the Strikeyy pinch, they should be fine.
That's going to be 4 dead. Every single player in Complexity will fall in. It's now 3-1 for Alpha LUMINON.
Wow.
Who are lighting up the main stage here in this first game. Rorzch with some shock rifle ammo to play with as well. Doesn't get the trade in that situation. But for what feels like the first time in quite some time, Complexity get a 3 dead of their own.
Same thoughts here. When have we last seen Alpha LUMINON 3 dead? That's the first time in quite some time, and the scoreboard is certainly an indicator of that as well. So impressed with Magico's hold on the C plat there. I think a lot of players would have gotten the call out that Mental was one shot around the tower boxes and they would have made the push. However, you might have caught that there was a tower 1 spawner. That really could have spelled disaster. He instead holds the position on C plat, forces the action to them, and guess what? He's rewarded because they accidentally team nade Mental on the drop slide. So just really well done here. Complexity, however, not done yet. Already 50% of the way done, but we also have to keep in mind the game clock is under 2 minutes as well.
Bottom middle hill, certainly the hardest to cap, you would say, out of all of the ones here on Recharge King of the Hill. Usually a lot of time is going to be burnt off of it. Magico stepping inside of that hill with the camo as well. Trying to turn the attention away maybe from his teammate to try and keep him alive. But now that the attention is towards his teammate, he tries to re-engage on tower, but perfect shots coming in from KingNick. Going to keep Complexity in this game, but they need to turn their attention to this hill after these kills. They're almost just over halfway capped on this bottom middle hill, but like you say, time is certainly a factor, especially with the 2-hill differential between the 2 teams.
Still 2 dead for Alpha LUMINON. We'll see if Mental can turn this around. Let's not forget, gets the back whack. Lucky, we've all been there, regardless of which Halo. 3 dead, by the way. Leuor's the last one in long haul. He's going to have to do whatever he can to stay alive. We've all been there, regardless of Halo title, as 3 will fall. Going to be a staggered 4 dead as well, where you go for the back whack at that angle, and man, are you ever rolling dice. You have no idea what's going to happen. So on the C-plat drop down, an important kill, I agree, though, on KingNick. He will get taken down from the A angle.
Yeah, it's an important kill, not just because of the fact that it's obviously a numbers kill. It just flushed that hill player out. When you're looking at game clock here, that can be the difference. Complexity do flood into the hill, they double up on it and get it, but with just over 60 seconds left in this game, if nobody steps in that hill, Alpha LUMINON might have just bought themselves enough time to reset here and put some pressure onto Complexity. Complexity, though, they won this first hill pretty convincingly.
Yeah, this is the big question is, can Alpha LUMINON find a little bit of slaying control? They've been really getting blown out in the slaying department over the last 2 minutes of play. However, they do have a man advantage, about to be a 3-man advantage in just a second if they get this kill as well. That's big. 3 dead, it's going to be a staggered 4, I believe, if Magico gets taken down. No. It's going to be a 2v2 on the map. Now 3 dead for Alpha LUMINON off the back of that.
You can see these elevator spawns. Complexity are trying to pinch them at the moment. Nobody's stepping inside that hill for now. Just prioritizing a few more kills. I think they want to flush this area out Complexity force the rest of the spawners from Alpha LUMINON towards blue, where they really are going to struggle to have access. Right, no! Oh my goodness! That's where you got to give him the nerds. That's the credit in the gamer tag.
Strikeyy was doing so well to take non-orthodox angles and kind of stay back elevator to kind of play the mind game of where the nades are going to be, but RyaNoob just absolutely nukes all of top elevator with a great insta. It's what he's known for. He's been doing nerdy stuff like that for a very long time in this game, in this franchise. And as a result, Complexity will have a significant hold here with still 30 seconds left on the game clock.
Starting to think about how many breaks Alpha LUMINON will have before this game is going to be tied up, though. Maybe one, maybe two. But with two in the death screen, it's a 2v2 scenario. Mental with some great shots with that battle rifle will keep the numbers in Complexity's favor. And most importantly, keep RyaNoob alive to potentially turn this game into a tied scenario.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going to happen. Complexity make it 3-3.
Man, Mental now 27-15, and in a game that felt moments ago like it might be an upset game one, instead we start to realize just how well this team is performing in the late game, and to have numbers like 27-16, pretty wild to see. It's 3 dead yet again. Complexity looks like they want to pull the upset off within the game time, not even go to sudden death.
Alpha LUMINON all spawning together over at Gold and Pipes. One player just wraps through towards Elevate, you can see that, but RyaNoob is going to get information on multiple spawners. That means Complexity can form a little bit of perimeter, protect this hill player. Wants to take down to no shields on the batteries. Great repeat coming in from RyaNoob as well. That's going to be 2 dead. And now he has the freedom to overextend out from this tower position, trying to help his teammates out. There's going to be damage on this hill.
Wow.
Finds one. And he now steps inside of the hill. 7 seconds left, but of course, we will be going to sudden death. Next hill will win this game.
All the shots from Rorzch are good, but he's about to get flooded. Strikey's your last player alive, and as you say, game timer might tick down, but most importantly, it's continued control here from Complexity. They're looking to pull off the big upset. They were down 3-1, which feels like not that long ago.
Alpha LUMINON trying to just take a few seconds here as we enter overtime to get 4 back on the map. Magico's going to get a pick. And there's a trade, so a 2v2 on the map at the moment. Complexity, with these kills though, might be very close to closing this one out. That's going to be 4 dead for Alpha LUMINON. And from 3-1 down in this game, Complexity, RyaNoob, grab that camo, and in a few seconds time should take this win. Wow. That's exactly what happens. KingNick stands inside of that hill. Complexity turned the game on its head and will take game number 1, 4-3.
Wow, talk about a convincing result there. I mean, at 3-1, you really do feel like Alpha LUMINON was firing on all cylinders and obviously in control of the scoreboard as well. It felt like back-to-back-to-back 3 deads and minutes of play, but before we saw anything like a 2 or 3 dead. Instead, Complexity, they ice up in a big way, and I think that's a pretty good indicator of how this team is looking to be able to have that consistent of holds back-to-back-to-back. They woke up in that game number 1, and they pulled a pretty strong comeback. 4-3 is your final score.
Yeah, really impressed by one particular moment in that game around the second hill, the second batteries hill, which is where Complexity had a 2 dead situation. And I was like, oh, nobody's stepping in the hill yet. I'm trying to work out in my head what exactly they're trying to do. Flushing out those elevator spawns and making sure there isn't a consistent respawn over there, I think was brilliant. Because if they just forget about that, they let those 2 players live, a couple players get into tower, and all of a sudden, so many angles on the hill player, you can get picked very easily, and that hill can completely change. It's all about just making sure that advantage is the biggest advantage you can have. Controlling that spawn so vital for them. Complexity recognized that. From that, we're able to control it, and then it looked pretty comfortable.
It's a really strong play. It reminds me of a lot. There's a lot of order of operations plays throughout competitive Halo history. Things like you think back all the way to something like a lockout, right? The rule of we clear out this area before we go here. We clear out snipe before we even think about going blue, and that's what you have in some scenarios in Halo Infinite. And as you say, clearing out elevator to ensure that they were not getting pinched on the hill from all of that pressure makes the Pipes control that much easier, and they knew exactly what they needed to do. And man, did they ever show up. Unsurprisingly, smiles on the face of RyaNoob. He's got a lot to be happy about in that game, and we should also give a shout out once again, of course, to Mental. 28-18 in that game. To go positive 10 in a game that you were trailing 3-1 is a pretty big statement.
Yeah, a really good place from RyaNoob as well around that elevator moment that we were talking about, that insta-explode, for example. Very, very impressive, just knowing exactly what the area of denial was going to be on it. So if anyone jumped up to try and get it,
yeah, the radius.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing.
The AoE radius on that insta was probably perfectly placed if we look at the entire center of the radius pie within elevator.
All of that circle math.
He's running all the hangover math like in his head as all that's happening, and then you get a perfect insta-explode.
Yeah, I would have missed it. Anyway, let's talk about game number 2, because obviously game number 1 is done. Complexity looking very good. Let's talk about what this means in the pool as well, because Complexity, like you say, 1-1 coming into this game, need to win this to continue their run through the bracket potentially a little bit later on, and I don't think they've struggled, so to speak. I think you looked at some of the teams that are in that pool. It's always going to be tough to have a perfect record if you're one of the lower seeds. But that game in particular, I think, showed us something about Complexity. It seems like there's, like you say, order of operations. They're not getting overexcited about certain scenarios. They're playing good Halo and not getting carried away by momentum that the other team is having. I think there was some really good signs for them there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they should, of course, exit this pool 2-1 if the series continues the way that it's looking like it will. And we should mention Alpha LUMINON, I believe, would have needed something like a 3-0 to stay alive in this pool based on their 0-3 loss to Omit. So that already might be end of days for them in terms of the pool, but still very important to see what Complexity can do here in this series as we get ready for this game number 2. But I agree, for Complexity, it's a real story of where does the season go from here, because it's disappointing places, make no mistake, in Arlington and Dallas, and they needed to make a change not only to the roster, but also to where they're placing for the year if they want to be taken seriously. And I think this is a team that realizes, okay, 3 events left, not just in the year, but in Halo Infinite.
Yes.
There's a big opportunity, because I think RyaNoob rosters, if you will, they're kind of their own class of roster in Halo competitive multiplayer. They've always been a threat of some kind, right? There's no doubt about that. You don't write off any roster that RyaNoob has brought to a game, you know, H3 and later. However, I think there's a certain level of focus here for them, realizing, okay, we can actually, like, when we think about, obviously much beyond top 12 where they've been, when they think about top 6, even threatening top 4, there's a real chance to do that for them. We'll have to see if they can put in the work. I think SLC might be too soon for something like that, but I think top 6 should be in their kind of line of sight for this event for sure.
Yeah, and I think you're looking at how bracket's potentially going to work out as well. That elimination bracket, you're not going to have the shark in the water like we've had very early on, where all of a sudden you're like, we're playing Optic, Elim 1, Elim 2, whatever
actually,
it is.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we've ended up top 12. We haven't really
lost
too much wrong. Yeah, it's a tough one. So I think for teams like Complexity, who are probably looking at potential brackets, matchups, who they're going to be playing against, there's a clearer route to where they want to achieve before you get the big game, which can really decide the difference between what you expected to get coming into this tournament and an exceptional performance. So I think the performances of the big teams yesterday really does give a little bit of a clearer road for a lot of these teams and what they can expect.
Right, and those matches that they'll play instead in, say, winners round 1 and maybe a Lim 1 or 2 will be more of the standard path, right? They'll be playing opponents that they, as you alluded to, that they expect to see there. So there might be a certain level of, I would say, warm-up, familiarity, things like that, so that when they get into matches where they're fighting for top 8, top 6, top 4, they're not only meeting expected opponents at those stages, but they will have more series and games under their belt instead of coming in, as you said, to a match and then the story is, wait a minute, we lost to one team and we were out of this event. Here we go now off the rip. It's going to be 2 dead for Alpha LUMINON, and RyaNoob almost hits a highlight reel shot. Instead, they will still find 3 dead. We'll see what he can do with the sniper here at Nest.
Re-peek. Ryan is feeling very, very confident. Love to see that. The sniper rifle now can be put to use. Strikey's just making it very difficult for that shot to be hit. He's going to challenge him as well, and that will be sniper rifle, I believe, falling off the map. I think it might. Nope. It stays back on it. That thing's sticky. It's got Velcro on it.
It does. If we know anything about that back mud ledge, right, that curb, that thing just holds everything on. Oddballs, sniper rifles, everything's included. As you say, a bit sticky, a bit Velcro-y. Let's see what Rorzch can do. Slow playing camo on scoreboard.
Question for you, is Velcro kind of a term that's generic across North America as well as Europe?
Yeah. It's I believe it's one of those, like, it's a. Is it like Kleenex? Is it like Kleenex that it's a?
I'll say sellotape, and people look at me
sellotape.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, we don't know that. We don't know about that.
Sticky tape.
Sticky tape, sure. Yeah, because that's easy to just figure out if you know what sticky and tape is.
It's fair. Just wanted to make sure that everyone understood what I was on about there. That was all. 9-7 for Complexity now, as we'll get 1 bullet to play with the sniper rifle. Can't connect, so we're down to Old Faithful in that bandit for everybody on the map at the moment. Complexity now trying to make a push on this tower, trying to see if they can find anyone. But it looks like at the moment that a little bit of a hide-and-seek game going on for these teams, trying to work out where these spawns are coming in, and that's usually an indication that nobody really has 4 alive. It's just trades that are happening around the map.
Early stages of this game, Mark, give us an opportunity to talk about mental as well, because I feel like the mental story is one that has been slowed down just a bit if we think about comparison to his entry years in Halo Infinite, a player who was talked about so much, who had so much promise and still does and still maintains, as we've already seen in this series, such a high skill level, but hasn't, I would say, gotten the exact placings that he would have wanted to have had thus far. I think the rest of this season is such a big opportunity for mental specifically, the entire Complexity roster, of course, but when you think about mental story, it feels like there's a little bit of a fork in the road, right? As Mental, right now, he's already regarded as one of the best players in the game. However, can he hit a different tier and kind of get back to maybe those levels of promise in these last 3 events? I think there's a lot on the line for kind of his career and how he's remembered in Infinite.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The player that always jumps to mind, and it's not just because of the Gears of War comparison, of course, is Precision, right? Those two players came through together. There's been that kind of friendly competition, I imagine, between the two. And Precision has certainly made a name for himself, as Mental has as well in the Halo Championship Series. But like you say, it's about defining your legacy at the end of the life cycle of esports for Halo Infinite. He's going to be looking to make sure that his name is remembered extremely fondly by fans and players alike.
I think there's a lot of players, interestingly, as we have 19 to 14 here for Complexity. We'll see what Cherished might be able to do. Runs into a little bit of pressure and actually gets singled out. What an eagle eye from Rat Tunnel. Somehow Rorzch saw something in the night, and they're able to neutralize that camo, which actually brings the game within 4. It felt like the game could have been blown wide open, but RyaNoob just holding this angle. Oh my God, talk about a target-rich environment. 3 out of 4 players somehow sitting on concrete at one time. So now it's 22 to 17. Not the best configuration for Alpha LUMINON in that situation when you've got 3 players at green staring at sandbags.
Yeah, not sure about that one. I have to say, upon reflection, easy to say upon reflection, but you are essentially 3-man walking into one of the most exposed LOSs on the map. And RyaNoob, by the way, at the moment is 10-2, which is now incorrect because he's 10-3.
He nerds. He nerds very hard. He's been nerding this series.
It's 24/7 hours a day. 24/7 hours a day.
That's a lot of hours in a day.
I need more.
Somehow RyaNoob finds 247 hours each day, and that's why he is this good at this game. Right now, over triple positive in the Slayer. They're up by 4.
Strikeyy now trying to slide through the Rat Tunnel, but he'll be taken down as well. And the score is starting to get a little bit distant here for Alpha LUMINON. Need to put not just trades on the board here, but kills that aren't going to be responded to by Complexity. A 6-kill difference with RyaNoob sitting at 11-3. Got to try and move and stay alive long enough now to potentially pick up the next power-up that's popping on the map. Maybe look towards that sniper rifle time that's going to come up. But I think just keeping the deaths down at the moment, trade out until those points, and then try and make the run off the back of it.
That play we just saw in the death cam was a really good indicator of how Complexity is playing this game, and you could even argue how textbook Halo Infinite should be played. Mental was able to fly out of Rat Tunnel and make sure to get a melee he really shouldn't have gotten away with. Bottom middle, that paved the way for then RyaNoob to then fly bottom middle and get that kill as well. And you just see them kind of making sure that they're getting trades that you really shouldn't eke out. And when you're up by 5, that's how you start to pull away even more.
Speaking of power-ups, speaking of camo, it is popping in 8 seconds time. That's why Complexity have decided to make this push off the back of it. There's a player one-shot bottom mid. You can see RyaNoob's just cleaned that one up, and Cherished is also still got 1 bullet of the previous sniper rifle left. So all the toys are going to be Complexities. And 34 to 27, 28, excuse me, as 1 kill does come in. A real opportunity to extend this lead to a point where you're thinking about this being 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, I think we might already be there. Of course, anything's possible, but when you think about RyaNoob here with this camo, the pressure that's about to happen, already being up by 8, Complexity has really started to pull away here, and they've done it, as we said, just textbook Halo. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just making sure they're focusing on these power-up drops, and it's a back-to-back-to-back, 3 dead just like that. That leads to a 10-kill lead.
That was a triple kill for Mental as well. So speaking of Mental, he might have just, I don't know if he got the overkill, but unofficial, as 4 kills consecutively will fall to his POV in the feed. And RyaNoob says, hey, I want one as well. He grabs another one to put himself at +10 for this game, 14-4. Mental with those 4 kills now puts himself positive as well, 10-9 for him.
Man, this has been a very fast Slayer. Let's not forget there's 12 minutes in these games and there's still 6 minutes on the game clock. This one has been played very, very fast. Once we got to the mid-game, Complexity has shown no signs of slowing. Now a sniper in the hands of the man we were talking about. It's Mental. Easy no-scope beatdown, stays alive as well.
That reaction time, very, very impressive. I would have had to take at least 5 to 10 seconds to decipher if that was a teammate or not. By the time I would have found out who that was, I would have died with a sniper rifle.
Not Mental, though. 45-36, and as we said, once you establish a lead like this, it is pretty much the home stretch. It should be very comfortable for them. A few kills do go the way of Alpha LUMINON, but this flank's going to help slow things down just a bit. RyaNoob's everywhere on the map.
Yeah, quite literally with this QT as well. 4 to go now for Complexity to close this game out and be up 2-0 in the series. Leuor will find 1. But this isn't over quite yet. A little bit of a scary situation to be in sometimes, but a kill like that from RyaNoob just kind of quells those nerves. That's RyaNoob going down there, and it's 41-46. It feels very, very different with a couple of players of Complexity falling, but they're doing a good job here. All of Alpha LUMINON trapped on the spawn in A. And it should be a case of now just moving in, flood this, find a trade, and Complexity will be up by 2 in the series. Strikeyy will be Able to get one, but Cherished cleans up Magico, and that'll be a 50-42 win here for Complexity. 1 game away now from closing this series out.
Very comfortable from them. And even though we were tied, or the game stayed certainly respectable around the mid-game, it really was that single rotation, and Complexity pulls away. 5-kill lead becomes a 10-kill lead, and in the end, 50-42, I think is indicative of exactly what we saw. A few maybe extra kills go the way of Alpha LUMINON, if we're honest. However, Complexity very much in the driver's seat in this series, without a doubt.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Again, just an element of control being shown at most points. There wasn't a 3-4 dead situation. Complexity played their lives extremely well, and it reflects upon the statistics as well. I mean, only KingNick going negative in that game, but still contributing to the assists. It's RyaNoob who leads the way, 18-6 in that game.
Casual triple positive.
Remember like early Halo Infinite live fire Slayers with the United roster that was RyaNoob led?
Yep. And KingNick.
How innovative, oh yeah, of course, KingNick was on that roster as well, but how innovative they were on that particular game type. It was so difficult to play. They would just run away from camo players, burn that time. Very, very impressive stuff from them, and it seems like RyaNoob and KingNick still know how to play that game type pretty well.
Certainly, I think what's interesting is the time that they really started to pull away was exactly what I talked about. It was the stacking and finding the trades, right? When it's so easy to pinch Rat Tunnel, but when you have Mental flying out at that speed and then coming around the corner and getting a melee he shouldn't get, you know, as we know at this level of Halo Infinite, one melee, right? Get a melee is what you hear so many times in the comms. Just get a melee. You don't even worry about the trade. Just get a melee, and the whole game blows wide open. Then someone, with the Rat Tunnel example, can poke Keydor. They can poke Rat. They can even pinch from a pillar side, a dummy side. It's amazing how much at this level, and so cool that things like a single piece of melee damage can lead to what then became a 10-kill lead. And it was off the back of simply stacking their 3 deads. Everything started with kind of the right aggression and the right timing, and really they never looked back.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep your eye on as well, especially on live fire, is just the controllers. I'm going to keep talking about controller sniper rifle. When you're looking at every time we saw a POV, it was Complexity who had that the majority of the time. Also, camos all going their way. So the fundamentals of Halo, Complexity know how to get it done, and you're still seeing that add up to a scoreline that we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Complexity also, I think, is a team that when they're down 3-1 in a game 1 and they bring it back like that, it just adds a little bit more kind of momentum, mental fortitude, confidence, belief to this roster. So because we have more standard brackets that we talked about earlier, I think it paves the way for this team to put things like top 12, I don't want to jinx it here, but top 12 in the rear view and look ahead to what do the last 3 events of this season hold. And even for Complexity, it's such a storied organization. It's a storied roster in Halo, but even bigger if you think back to the CS success, etc. So for Complexity as an org, I think it's important too, right? How is this org remembered in Halo Infinite? If they were to continue on the pace that they've been in 2025, it's kind of a footnote. And instead, they now have the opportunity to exit the season, the game, kind of as a respected roster. That's what I think really is the opportunity for them. We'll see if they can do it. They're starting the road here.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Complexity so far today, and then we have to wonder how their road's going to look. Should they be able to close this series out? Of course, we've still got some games to play. Nobody ever won a series 2-0 in a best of 5. Still have to get it done. But I think the fact that we saw them win the objective and the Slayer convincingly gives you a pretty good indication of where you would expect this series to be going.
Yeah, I would say also there's just been no real, aside from when they found themselves down 3-1, which you could argue was just a really nice piece of Slayer rotations that came in from Alpha LUMINON. Aside from that, and I think that's kind of erased by the comeback, right? You're like, actually, they knew what they were doing, and they found a way. So I haven't seen a lot of signs of concerning things in this series from Complexity. I didn't get to watch, we didn't get to see their earlier series, but sometimes when you see a team who's playing a lower-seeded opponent, you might see kind of just a little bit of gaps in the armor.
Get a bit carried away with certain situations.
Yeah, exactly, and things that you worry about. As we jump right into the game. Game number 3 here, if you're just joining us, it's Complexity versus Alpha LUMINON, some of the early series of the day before we head into bracket play. It's an early lead for Complexity in the series, as they've, in the end, found a lot of comfort here, leading 2-0. They're 1 game away from closing out the series. We'll see if they can do it here.
On the streets, we ball. And that's exactly what we're doing here with some oddball on streets. An opportunity here for Complexity to close out a sweep against Alpha LUMINON. That's going to be 3 dead. Cherished finds 2. KingNick will find another as well. And with the camo still up and Alpha LUMINON still with players in dead screen, it's up to Magico to try and stop that camo getting collected cleanly. And he finds at least 1 kill, but Mental will collect that camo thanks to his teammate throwing it back and sacrificing himself.
Yeah, Cherished was the sacrifice there. Really nice play. You'll notice he didn't try to pop. Unsurprisingly, he was just trying to get that camo to benches. And in doing so, made a way for Mental to be able to grab that. Of course, great mechanic. Different from prior titles, of course, the ability to make a play like that. In the end, early lead here for Complexity yet again. It's another bonk on the head.
I want to see a bonk medal.
Bonk should be a medal.
Bonk should be a medal. Like,
whoa.
Beat down from above. You have to fall like a certain amount of feet. Or meters.
The question is, would it be a typical Jeff Steitzer bonk, or would it just be maybe just like a noise?
Maybe a new one. Maybe bringing in a new era of Halo.
I do feel like it's a very specific kind of, it's a very specific move. And also, as we said, it's a high-risk move where somehow you think you're about to bonk someone on the head, and before you know it, you're getting ninja.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Been there before.
There's scope for that, and I'm willing to talk
Details.
dollars.
That's
Sure. 20 points on the board here for Complexity. Those 2 will be in the death screen for Alpha Luminon again. RyaNoob.
Bonk.
The reverse fakie, goes for the bonk, doesn't get it this time. Magico will be last alive and trying to wrap towards the pink street, but Cherished is already on that oddball. You can see Magico traps in the cafe at the moment. Rorzch is going to be close to him, but...
Was that?
I think
thoughts?
I think the idea... Let me talk to you.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
He wanted to push the grenades away, but unfortunately what happened...
Stick, by the way, into the L.
...is he pushed the oddball back.
It was, we're gonna have to get a confirmation on exactly what I just witnessed, because it felt like Cherished was once again doing the dirty work in the L. He's like, I'm coming, I'm gonna toss this thing in, don't worry. And RyaNoob just kind of yeets Cherished and the oddball back into the fray. I think you're right, though. That probably was the intent. Nice shots coming in from KingNick, unsurprisingly. It will be 2 dead again for Alpha Luminon, and unanswered so far. 33 on points and counting on the board for Complexity.
Yeah, 2 perfects in a row. Really good shots coming in from Nick in those situations. Cherished now. He has a go, and I tell you what, Complexity is shooting straight right now. That's 3 fights we've seen from their POV, and it's only taken them 50 bullets to the Bandit to get 3 kills.
Nice work from Cherished on the cheeky bottom B-stairs angle. That's hard to shoot through from the other side if you're challenging from benches in pink. By the way, KingNick already 9-6 in this game. Quite a start for him.
Alpha Luminon yet to get a second of ball time collected at the moment. 44-0. Cherished finds another kill. That'll be another one for him. He's not missing at the moment. That is a simple serving for him to gobble up, and that's going to be 45 and rising now. Points on the board here as Complexity will continue to score. A little trade does come in. Leuor's trying to win that race through back tram towards where that odd ball is. Cherished. There's a little landmine for him. That repulse not going to be available. The second one will hit, and that is another kill going the way of Cherished and Complexity.
Tell you what, Alpha Luminon did well to keep that dicey. They only had 1 player alive in Tram essentially the whole time after the 3 dead, but they had driveway spawners, which kept things interesting. But a lot of credit is due for Complexity to still be up here. Those shots from Cherished as well. A lot of credit's due for Complexity for holding down not just the angles, but the lead as well. They still have not let Alpha Luminon get a point on the board.
Still 46-0, like you say. Camo coming up as well, so Complexity just making sure that they've got eyes on it. Double push on the driveway here to see if they can maybe catch a couple of players off guard. And it's going to be Magico who had the camo. He grabbed it, but Complexity wrapped around. Damage was done. They neutralized that, and still 0 points on the board here for Alpha Luminon. They cannot get their grubby little mitts on that oddball.
You could tell by Magico taking that angle around benches, he definitely did not know that there were 2 players on a B rails angle, that you would never kind of turn that corner in that fashion if you thought, and try to pop camo on benches if you thought that you might be exposed to that angle. So you could tell Complexity once again, even though they did not have perfect map control, they took the exact route that they needed to keep things not only dicey but in their favor. And that's kind of been the name of the game. It's even though they haven't had perfect control, they've always made sure to keep things at least kind of fast-paced enough to maintain this lead, and as we said, still scoreless for Alpha Luminon.
Yeah, they got their hands on the ball for just a second. Leuor is going to run this one back in. Will there be 1 point on the board? Yes, there will. So a start of something here for Alpha Luminon, but pressure already coming up that pink street, as you can see. Playball does come in. 4 points on the board.
Need a few more of those.
Have to find a few more kills if they want some more.
Yeah, short-lived the hold. Is forced to play ball right away. The shots are good, but there's too many opponents. Leuor gets 2 players to 1 shot, but in the end, the help was too strong. 2 dead for Alpha Luminon. KingNick is going to just hold here once again and add more to the Complexity total. Looks like pressure's coming in B-rails and driveway.
Yeah, double positive here for KingNick as well. 16 and 8 at this point with some on-ball time as well.
Jeez.
Not bad. A very impressive series so far from Nick.
I like what I see. KingNick's been a player that you and I have had kind of in our spotlight for good reason for a very long time. He's had dominant performances and sometimes performances that have left a little bit to be desired. He looks very good, as you say, here at 17 and 8.
Stalker rifle as well. You imagine that he's going to be able to increase that statistic line, a killing spree for him, but is going to finally be ended there. The Psychic enough to get the trade, but there was another player on the B stairs that took him down. As we jump over to Mr. Noob. He has that battle rifle in his eyes and reticle traced upon that camo that's popping up as well. Magico's going to get it for the second time, but for the second time, Unfortunately, we have a little bit of deja vu as he is eliminated from the game, which means that camo is going to be burned with 4 seconds left on the game clock. Complexity just need to get this ball out of the hands of Alpha Luminon, and they will be up by 1 round. That's what they do. They close this out. Complexity up by 1.
What an unconventional scoring bit there, right? It just tells you how Complexity played that. For that to end 60-3 is just exactly how Complexity played it. They got, not only did they get the lead and did they have consistent holds, they didn't go for high risk holds. They instead looked to slay, keep only 1 player alive, and very rarely do you see at this level a game end 60-3, or excuse me, a round end 60-3. So that just tells you exactly kind of the slow and strategic approach from Complexity in this game type. It paid off in a huge way for them in that round. They're going to look to do the same here to close out the series.
2-4 for Complexity off this opening break, so Alpha Luminon get the better of the numbers. Camo's coming up as well. You can see 2 players already flooding bottom middle. This is where they started to have a little bit of success in that first game, the recharge, when they started doubling up a couple of lanes together when they had that numbers advantage. Looking to repeat something similar here, but Complexity doing what they do best. That's not moving, trying to spot out this camo, but they get the first pick, and they have a little bit of early ball time here.
2 dead, 3 dead in a second. See where Cherished is. This might be some early hold time coming in. Cherished all the way back here on B stairs, so this should be time for them, and we'll see if Alpha Luminon can try to turn this game around. Oh my, Cherished.
Good shots from Cherished, a little bit of help coming in as well from a spawning teammate. A little bit of an overextension there from Rorzch, I think, in that situation as well. He had the camo, maybe got the call out. There was damage on those stairs. Thought he could get the clean 4 dead, but just the timing just a little bit off on that push.
Now Cherished is coming in with a precision tool in the Stalker Rifle and slowly picking the opponents apart, even with a Dipsy Doodle here, and gets an assist. 16-8 now for Cherished off the back of this run.
Finally, he's going to be taken down and end that little run that he was on. Complexity now have that ball in their hands back at Tram, where they got the majority of their time in that first round. 20-10, at least something positive to talk about here for Alpha Luminon. Leuor just takes the direct route.
Front door.
That is known as the crow flies.
Yeah, absolutely. Just breaking down the front door. Knew he had the timing. Not always easy to take that.
Oh, no ammo.
No ammo. RyaNoob will punish him for that one. Will also fly right back out to help. Beautiful timing there. He was still low shields and got hit by an extra nade, but that's the type of play that you need to be able to make, is identifying even when you're weak and have taken additional damage. When can you poke? When can you help a teammate and catch the opponent off guard to allow for a 2v1? That's exactly what he does there, and they will now take the lead.
3 dead here for Alpha Luminon. Last player alive is going to be here. Well, he was there, but it's going to be camo popped by Mental as well. Really smart decision from him. You heard probably the communication from Complexity there is, challenge him, I've got your help, we can kill him before he kills you. That's exactly what happens, and now Mental gets away with that camo. Another perfect in the feed, by the way. This time it was Cherished who picked that one up.
Oh my, look at this. Beautifully
Mental
done, dude.
looking for this double kill. He's gonna start throwing dollar bills at this guy in a second. Mental comes in, and I think it was actually a teammate that's with a team nade that gave him that kill initially, but the double kill was all him.
I was hoping he was gonna challenge, and he does! Turns on him!
That is disgusting, using the palm tree as a friend.
Oh my goodness. And by the way, the entire time he had 2 spikes that he didn't even use at all in that engagement. Even when you had someone dancing on the pillar, what a piece of play from him. And I was hoping, I think everyone was hoping he would check trash or have a call out for trash. In the end, gets 2 shots down and absolutely turns on him. Beautiful piece of play from Mental, and off the back of that, Complexity has once again tripled the score of their opponent.
And now, once again, they're not too worried about oddball time. They're just slowing things down. Rorzch has actually got it here, inside a tram for Alpha Luminon. But again, it's just momentary seconds. Nice little jump comes up. KingNick goes for the stick. Comes up unsuccessful.
Goes for the, yeah. Was hoping that one of those would connect and maybe just try to play that balcony a bit better, and gets punished in the end, but it's going to still be 2 dead for Alpha Luminon. About to mean maybe 3 if Leuor runs into some trouble.
Yeah, you can see Complexity feeling very confident at the moment, even with no shields. Mental knows that the help is there, and he can continue firing this bandit, knowing that someone is going to be in a position to clean these kills up. 60 points on the board and rising as 3 will fall for Alpha Luminon. Last player alive is going to be out towards PD.
I think. Split spawns here.
But look at these, good bit of awareness there for Complexity. They saw that nobody was spawning PD, even though he probably had tabs on where that last player alive was. Mental drops that ball, turns around, immediately gets some damage down, but the split spawns have cost Complexity here, and Rorzch is going to have himself a camouflage here.
Pretty mean split spawn, to be honest. PD and back tram, and that's going to lead to a camo, as you said, and a hold as well. Maybe make this game a little bit more interesting. There was a lot to talk about how well Complexity had initially played that. Split spawn, as you say, will punish them, but we'll see how this push plays out. All 8 players up on the map.
Oh,
man.
That's frustrating.
Thought he had the timing, but exposed his back to a whole lot of B stairs and B rails. And as a result, it's 2 dead for Alpha LUMINON. Now make it 3 dead. Last player alive is Leuor.
Yeah, Complexity should be able to get this ball. If they choose to, they're going to do exactly that. They've got information on where not only the last player alive is, but also these spawners as KingNick tries to buy enough time for the rest of Complexity to get in a position to finish these kills. Instead, looks like they're going to just soak up a little bit of ball time here at Tram. Get a few seconds closer to closing out this round, game, and series. And then look to reslay off the back of it. Complexity 2 dead at the moment. Alpha LUMINON need to find something special here, and they need to find it now.
One difference maker that I've seen, while we have a little bit of time to talk about it, is Complexity has continually challenged from back Tram. Their back Tram player has absolutely laned the L, front A continually, and that's how Alpha LUMINON has run into a lot of trouble. They're challenging from areas like front A, like bottom middle, like the L, while the players in bottom Tram are absolutely punishing them and laying down so much damage. It's 3 dead yet again, a momentary 2v1.
Yeah, Cherished, by the way, is 24 and 11 in this game. Barely mentioned him. We've seen his POV a few times, but that is a phenomenal stat line from him. Plus 17 assists as well. Also, he has been shooting.
Mental's assists are still double that of anyone on the other side. 23 assists for Mental, and you know with how assists are tracked in Halo multiplayer, he's probably got even more than that. 18 and 24 assists now. Unbelievable numbers here, as Complexity will hit the 82-point mark and only be just shy of 20 points away from closing out, as you say, the round, the game, and the series.
Yeah, Mental with the Richie Hines stat line at the moment, which is 0 in the KD, but a huge amount of assists, eclipsing every single player in the lobby. But this is a chance now for Alpha LUMINON to keep this game going. 48 points on the board. And it's rising, and they have camo in the hands of Magico here. Now, they need to play this well. The first pick's so important for them, especially when you have this power up. There's not really an excuse to not get this first pick, but it's not going to come. And it's Mental this time who hits the perfect.
Yeah, Magico needs to figure out something quick. Needs to get into the fray here at Ivy. He's able to grab one, but just going to trade it out. 4 dead. It's a staggered 4 dead. Rorzch is your first. He's going to be a PD spawner, and that could be it.
Cherished with the first pick on the respawners as well. 88 points and rising, 10 more points, and Complexity will complete the sweep here and go to 2-on-1 in pools. It looks like no one from Alpha LUMINON is even close enough on the map to challenge RyaNoob. That will be the game, that will be the series. Complexity with a 2-0 here, a 3-0 in the series. They sweep Alpha LUMINON aside and will be feeling very confident going into bracket play.
Certainly a lot to be proud of there in that series. They were tested, they were down, as we said, in that game number 1, just in case you missed it, to come back from a 3-1 deficit in King of the Hill Recharge, instead winning that 4-3, which was the initial statement of the series, and really they showed no signs of slowing or looking back thereafter. A very good series and a very good pool play result. In the end, for Complexity, they'll be very happy to have turned around the pool play results, as we said, 1 and 2 in Dallas, and instead they can look ahead now to bracket play. Here's a look at the stats.
Yeah, some statistics that certainly stand out are those of Cherished and Mental for different reasons, I will say. By the way, RyaNoob still goes positive. Everyone goes positive, to be fair. No bad stats on the side of Complexity. The Cherished with the 26 and 14 performance, but those assists, 24 of them, and goes positive 1 as well. Mental's positioning must have been absolutely on point for the entirety of that oddball to come out of that with that stat line.
Yeah, it's really encouraging. If you're fans of these players, of this Complexity roster, it's a really encouraging series to watch because, as we said earlier, there are times where you'll see a higher seeded team winning a series, but maybe showing a bit of a weakness or maybe a tiny bit of lack of coordination or timing or cohesion or things of that nature. So instead, to see Complexity looking like they've got everything dialed, certainly a good result for fans of this squad who want to see them turn their season into a much better result.